Hey, how's it going, everybody? Shaun here for another daily movie review, and spooky season continues. Today, we're going to be talking about the 1984 film Runaway. The film was directed by Michael Crichton, written by Michael Crichton, stars Tom Selleck, Cynthia Rhodes, Gene Simmons, Kirstie Alley, Stan Shaw, G.W. Bailey, and others. The plot synopsis is: in the near future, a police officer specializes in malfunctioning robots. When a robot turns out to have been programmed to kill, he begins to uncover a homicidal plot to create killer robots, and his son becomes the target. Okay, so I know some of you are probably thinking, you're probably being like, yo, you're really kind of stretching the definition of horror movies, spooky movies. But let me tell you something. Killer robots, that's terrifying to me. Killer spider robots filled with like acid, that's fucking terrifying. Okay? That ain't no joke. If that doesn't keep you up at night, what will? What does? Holy Christ. So, yeah, this is a fun movie. I have a history with this movie. I grew up watching it. We had a VHS of it. I remember my dad just had a VHS of Runaway. One of these old clamshell cases from the 80s. He probably got it, like, used somewhere. But I just remember it. The poster just like is seared into my memory of like Tom Selleck and Cynthia Rhodes with their standing Charlie's Angel style back to back. Tough stuff. It's written and directed by Michael Crichton, like I said, the guy behind Jurassic Park, The Andromeda Strain, Sphere. He wrote and directed the movie Westworld. Oh yeah, serious guy. So he was kind of like a serious writer, you know, engaged in a lot of hard science fiction stuff, but always with a fun, pulpy genre twist. You know, I'm sure you know if you've seen or read, especially if you've read any of this stuff. I mean, go read Jurassic Park. If you like the movie Jurassic Park, go read the fucking book Jurassic Park. That is like a horror novel. That is fucking wild. I love the movie. Don't get me wrong. I think Spielberg's movie is great, but it is completely different. It's a completely different beast than the novel. And the novels, I really enjoy the novel. And but this has that same kind of thing where it's like a little more harder sci-fi. He wants to kind of build a credible world. Like he was trying to build a world which he thought would be like 10 years away. But the movie kind of like predicts a lot of stuff. There's like Skype and, you know, the stuff that they're doing with AI, all that kind of stuff. Like, so it kind of tries to build this credible world. And I guess it would make sense that in some sense, like, right, if automation takes over, we will have to have some sort of regulatory force that is able to deal with these things if something were to ever go awry. They're machines, they're programmed. That can be taken advantage of, as this movie kind of explores. And yeah, so what do I think of just off the top? Like I said, it's a fun movie. It's not, I wouldn't say it's a good movie per se. It is a little self-serious. It's a little flat at times, but there is something very charming about it. I really kind of enjoy, like, weirdly enough, the aesthetic of the movie. I like some of the choices in the performances, namely Gene Simmons. This is Gene Simmons' first like real movie. The only thing he had done before this was you know, one of those Kiss movies, Kiss in the Haunted Amusement Park or something like that. So he had never really done much acting, and he gets cast as the villain here, and apparently he goes full method. If the trivia is to be believed, he really got into character, and he was like so surprised, and all the marketing around the movie was all about like how great Michael Crichton is and how serious and dark this movie was, and Gene Simmons' performance and the way he arrived at his performance being kind of method. That was something that was kind of like actually put out there in the media. Like you can go read a bunch of interviews. I was reading some of the trivia. Like Kirstie Alley has got, yes, Kirstie Alley, Trump supporter Kirstie Alley is in this film back in the day. But she had a really funny, a funny thing to say. So we'll see if we can find it. But yeah, so the movie's a little too self-serious. They definitely were taking this very seriously when they made the movie, and that definitely doesn't play against it. But you're like, you have like an awareness of that's what's going on, and it makes a lot of the stuff in the movie kind of unintentionally funny at times. and they're not given a lot to work with, surprisingly enough. Like Michael Crichton was so, it seems like he was so interested and kind of taken with the concept and the world in which this kind of story would take place that he really undersells the characters. He wants to have Selleck kind of being like your prototypical hero adventure story guy. And Selleck, Tom Selleck's a guy that I like generally. I think he gives kind of a flat performance here. It's like he didn't know really what to do with the character. And it seems kind of obvious that he didn't really know what to do. So he kind of just gives this really even keeled, almost like too even keeled, dispassionate performance. Like he seems like he's bored. But I don't know if I think it might just be a choice though on his part. But going back to what Kirstie Alley said about this movie. So she's gives an interview for promotion for the movie. Kirstie Alley has high praise for Michael Crichton. I can do a performance which other people might think is good, but I know it isn't my best. Michael sees right through that. He'll do take after take until both he and I know I'm there. He can perceive a correct emotion and pushes until you hit it. It feels good to me because when I walk off the set, I know I've done the best I can do. Now that is that is a comment that does not align with the reality of what was on screen. I can tell you that much. I don't know. Michael Crichton didn't really direct much after this. Let's look. I can't remember exactly what he directed after this. Yeah, he only did a few things. So Runaway, and then in '89 he does Physical Evidence, and then he does uncredited reshoots on The 13th Warrior, the one with Antonio Banderas, which we actually talked about like a month ago. And then he directed the Timeline video game. So he didn't do much after this. I mean, he's made probably one really, I think you could probably argue is like a really kind of great movie, in my opinion, that I really enjoy is The Great Train Robbery. I really like that movie. Maybe nostalgia talking, but that's kind of the one. Westworld is like interesting for what it is, but it's not like a great movie. So he didn't really do much after this. So apparently either he was bored with the notion of being a director, or maybe the calls just stopped coming, which is a shame, which is just a goddamn shame. Because Runaway is fun. It's a fun movie. I enjoy it for what it is. Like, it's not going to blow your socks off, but it has this really interesting, kitschy 80s quality. It just doesn't balance things right, in my opinion. And it's actually not complicated enough. Like, you never feel like a sense of discovery. The pacing isn't great. Like, it was an excuse to do kind of like this big... They think they're making like this big 80s action movie that has like these cool set pieces and utilizing the killer robots and that kind of technology in interesting ways. Like there's a car chase, there's a scene where somebody's helper robot goes haywire in their apartment and they have to go stop it. Same thing when they go rescue Kirstie Alley. To me, it was just like, Jesus Christ, these robots are a problem. If your robots are such a problem that you need to have like a specialized task force and your local police to deal with them, well, I don't know. And there's also lots of like kind of contrived writer stuff in here about character motivations. Like Tom Selleck's character decided to get into the robot policing, become a robot police officer. Robot Enforcement Task Force, whatever the hell it's called. The Runaways, actually. That's what they're called. The Runaways. Because he's afraid of heights. And he's like, and I knew having that kind of fear would be a problem out in the streets. So they bring it up like in the first act when he's kind of introduced. And then it only comes back into play like at the end of the movie. For the big... They're out like at a construction site in an unfinished building, and that's where it takes place. So then he has to face his fears. Fear of heights. But it's the only other time it's like it has nothing to do with the rest of the plot. Like there is a version of Runaway that's probably like really fucking good. Like you could really take this concept and run with it. Like honestly, I'm not like a huge fan of remakes or whatever, but if there's a movie that is ripe for a remake nowadays, dude, Runaway would be a good one. This would be a good candidate for a modern like update. Just like I said, because of dealing with things like automation and like having robots in our homes and artificial intelligence and computers, It would be actually, you could probably fashion a really exciting kind of thriller. And then you have like this notion of like kind of this mad scientist that's trying to build an army of killer robots for kind of vague purposes. It doesn't, it's another one of the problems with this movie in particular, that it just does not delve into motivations very well. It is very basic. Like, he's a bad guy because he's a bad guy. And if they go into it any deeper, like I was watching, I was paying attention, like it has already left my mind. I watched this a lot when I was a kid. I feel like there was like a summer or like a year where I watched Runaway all the time. And I hadn't seen it since then, so it's probably been like 20 years, maybe more. I'm 34. So it was probably more than 20 years. It's probably like 25 years ago, 24 years ago. It's probably like 9 or 10 the last time I saw Runaway. And it was so crazy. I had such a good memory of the movie. Like, as I was watching it, I remembered every single scene and how everything played out. So I must have watched it a lot. And it makes sense in a sort of weird way. It does have kind of, like I said, like this kind of pedantic, really straightforward, almost childish version of the story, of the material. But I still found some entertainment value in it. I don't know if that's nostalgia talking, but like I did find myself kind of laughing at it, having fun with it, enjoying some of the practical effects, enjoying Gene Simmons' ridiculous performance. He is bad, but in such an earnest way that you're like happy for him. It just makes you like, you're just like, oh yeah, go get it, Gene Simmons. Like, he's like in a different fucking movie. Honestly, if people were more modulated to his performance, the movie would be better. It would be better, and it could probably get away with some of its kind of blandness, its flatness. It needed some life, some juice. Because it does almost have like this air of a TV movie. Honestly, I don't know if that's Selleck, just being so familiar with him from Magnum PI and also many TV movies. I don't know if that's the case, but like, it did kind of feel that way, especially this time. I mean, obviously, this time I noticed watching, I was like, oh, this kind of feels like something like I would have seen on television. Like, it could have been like a 2-part miniseries or something, or just one of those Tom Selleck's late 90s, early 2000s direct-to-video TV movies. What is he, Alex Stone? Is that the series that he did? A bunch of TV movies? Can't remember. I think I saw them when I was a kid. Because Tom Selleck, he's got a nice presence. I like Tom Selleck as a leading man, I like him. He was almost Indiana Jones, guys. If it wasn't for Magnum PI, history would be very different. I'm glad that didn't work out, though. I can't imagine anybody other than Harrison Ford actually doing it. Cynthia Rhodes, she's like the co-lead, the romantic interest, which is another thing. They're like romantically involved, but they do nothing to make the case for that at all. And it feels just like super contrived, super just like, they're just telling you, they're like, no, they're in love because we say they are. They're in love now, and he's going to risk it all. And then there's this hilarious kind of like end of movie sequence as like the credits start playing, and then there's all these sparks and stuff flying because they're in this under construction high rise, and sparks are flying, and they just start making out, and the camera kind of just like lingering and zooming in and out and from different angles of them making out until it fades to black. It goes on for like a couple minutes, honestly. And you're like, this movie did not earn this moment. It did not earn this relationship. Like, it's almost completely platonic up until that moment. Up until like maybe 15 minutes before that, you're like, oh, they like each other? They actually like each other? They're not just like fond of each other because they're partners? Because she's sort of the audience avatar. She's like new to the force, new to the Runaway division. And so everything gets explained to her. But they don't ever do anything to suggest that they're like actually like attracted to each other in that way. Honestly, you could have done a completely platonic movie. Like, their relationship could have been completely just friends. And it would have been largely the same. yeah, I didn't really get it. I didn't really get how that all added up. Hey, but whatever, you know. It adds to the charm and the mystique of Runaway. She didn't actually do much after this. She's kind of stopped acting altogether in 1991. So I don't know what she's been doing since then. Archive, soundtrack. Is she a singer? Maybe she's a singer. I don't know, man. Second unit director? No, that was in '86. So yeah, she just kind of stopped. I don't know what happened to Cynthia Rhodes. Very a cutie though. Cutie patootie. Not gonna lie. Definitely have some young memories of thinking she's some hot stuff. I'm not gonna lie. This man tells no lies. I'm an open book, everybody. Yeah, though. I mean, I think if you're curious about it, if you've never seen Runaway, I can't imagine, like, if you're a genre fan, that you'd be completely disappointed in it. Like, guess what? You guys, it's stupid. It's not clever. It's not smart. It's pretty rote. But there is some kind of weird charm to it. I'm telling you. It ain't all bad. It ain't all bad. You know, I want to watch, what is it? I think it's called Wanted, Dead or Alive with Rutger Hauer and Gene Simmons. Gene Simmons has not done a ton of movies as an actor. I mean, he's done a few in the past few years. But back in the day, let's scroll down. Let's just take a journey. As an actor, not playing himself, anyways. You know, Detroit Rock City. Oh yeah, we got to revisit that at some point. Trick or Treat, obviously. People were that was the movie that he did after Runaways. You know, he did a few things. He did an episode of Miami Vice, Deadly Nightmares, some TV show. Trick or Treat, which I remember. I haven't seen in a long time. But then he did Wanted, Dead or Alive with Rutger Hauer. I'm actually looking forward to checking that out because I am a big Rutger Hauer fan. And I love, like, kind of his weird genre shit in the 80s. And I can't believe I've never seen this. But he plays the villain in Wanted, Dead or Alive. So look out for that probably in the near future. I hope I remember to check it out because I really, really want to. Got to fill in that gap, that Rutger gap, you know. I've seen most of Rutger Hauer's movies, but I've never seen that. So should be cool. But yeah. You could do worse than Runaway. It's on Amazon Prime right now. If you go to Amazon Prime, you got 90 minutes. It's a 90-minute movie, a nice 90-minute film. I say give it a go. All right, everybody. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. If you'd like to know more about Zoobox, bunch of links in the description for Facebook, for Instagram, for my Twitter, for Dan's Twitter. Also, if you'd like to make a recommendation for one of these daily videos, you go ahead and you throw it in the comments, and we will put it on that list. All right, everybody. You have the best one ever.